And we're live.
Hello, guys. Welcome to the fifth episode of Tech Lounge. We trust you guys have been doing fine and you've been keeping safe. It's December is the usual season, and we hope that, a year that has been a tumultuous year for a lot of us. We hope that this season will bring a lot of joy to everybody, considering what has happened this year. I mean, this year has been a lot. I mean, even for Dami and I. We've seen people. For starting from the case of coronavirus, which is still out there now. The NSAS movement, the terrorism, and abduction in the north, and a whole lot that's going on in the country, right? It's been a challenging year for all of us, but we hope that this season will bring a lot of joy to us all. I mean, the good thing is that we are looking forward to 2021 because we've seen reported cases where they've said we've had big breakthroughs in scientific breakthroughs with the whole vaccines that out there. I mean, just today I saw a report about the vaccine from Russia that is said has proven to be like 100% effective. I doubt that. I also saw that one that said 91% effective, right? Other than that, we've seen Pfizer, we've seen Moderna vaccine, right? Which, this is promising, right? It shows that we are getting there. But before we get there, we hope that everybody tries to stay safe and you try to socially distance, right? And not put yourself at risk. So for today, our topic for today, we'll be talking about social media bill and the Nigerian government, a tale of two cities, right? Where we look at the proposed social media bill by the Nigerian government. Dami and I will try to unpack some of the proposed legislations to try and see. We look at the pros and the cons. We'll talk about the advantages, disadvantages. I mean, if at all our government should even be considering this at this stage, right? So we hope that you find this session educative and informative, right? And at the end of it all, you take a lot from this session, right? Dami,
Yeah,
over to you, buddy.
it's good to be back. Thank you. And good. Welcome to all our listeners as well. Today we're talking about, like Dara mentioned, the social media bill. I guess we should just dive right into it, right? So, what is the social media bill really? It's formally called the Protection from Internet Falsehoods and Manipulation and Other Related Matters Bill 2019, which everyone calls the Social Media Bill. The primary aim of the bill is to prevent the transmission of false statements or declaration of facts in Nigeria and to enable measures to be taken to counter the effect of such transmission, right? All of our language sounds nice and fancy, but I mean, personally, right, I consider this bill one of the most regressive legislations to ever be considered by the legislature in Nigeria, right? And we consider this bill worth talking about on Tech Lounge because, yes, like we said, this is Tech Lounge. We care about anything and everything related to the tech community. And we consider the social media bill very inimical to the growth of the tech ecosystem, right? And some numbers, right? Personally, I consider this bill a direct attack on the Nigerian tech ecosystem, right? And if you look at it, the social media has created so many opportunities for many Nigerians, right? Just in August 2020, MBS reported that that's the National Bureau of Statistics. They reported that there was about 27.1% unemployment rate in Nigeria. That's about 21.7 million Nigerians without jobs, right? If we cast our minds back to, say, 2010 or way before then, before the advent of the internet and social media, the numbers were probably higher, right? Which means the only thing that has changed between that period and now is the access to the internet for so many unemployed Nigerian youth that are now leveraging the access to social media to create opportunities for themselves, right? To put foods on their table and to impact the society positively, right? I mean, think about it. The internet penetration in Nigeria still stands about 13%, which means there's an opportunity for growth in the system, right? Which ultimately that means we do not need any legislation from the Nigerian government to make it impossible for the youth to thrive in the country, right? And no matter how you look at it from different angles, there are different positives in the use of social media and of social media in Nigeria. If you remember Ben Dio, right? I mean, the first set of folks that make a lot of money from the use of social media in Nigeria will probably be the bloggers, or the LinkedIn, KG, Nairaland, and Bella Nigers of this world, right?
Yeah.
They were able to create wealth just by creating a platform where people can share ideas, and where they could leverage on advertising and marketing to obviously generate revenues, right? Now,
Yeah.
social media has gone beyond that in Nigeria. It's a platform where Nigerians blog, where they network, where they produce content, where they add value to the society for creatives, especially in the entertainment industry. A lot of players, entertainers in the space now leverage social media to push out their content, which is why nobody is crying about piracy anymore in the country. Beyond the private benefits, let's even talk about the public sector, right? In 2015, remember how the current administration leveraged social media to bias the minds of Nigerians to seize power from the then president, i.e., President Goodluck Jonathan. Through many lies and propaganda, they were able to leverage the social media to get into power. Now, it's very hypocritical that all of a sudden their biggest problem is the social media, and it's unfair. It's unjust, which means
Amazing.
this is why we're talking about it, Dio, right? I mean, it's very, very important. We can't unlook, because if you're saying we're doing Techland, the only reason you can listen to us on Techland today is because there's YouTube, right? YouTube is an offshoot of the social media, right? Dio, it's so ridiculous. What do you think?
I mean, you're right, Dami, right? I mean, I'm casting my mind back to, I read something recently about Sheil Osewa, who is the founder of Nairaland, right?
Yeah.
And they're saying that, I mean, with pride, that Sheil is like the Mark Zuckerberg of Nigerian tech ecosystem, right? Because he also built Nairaland from scratch, right? I mean, when
Yeah.
he was in school and stuff like that. And look at the size of Nairaland now. Like, it's massive, right? It's massive. It's like the largest social network in Nigeria. An indigenous social network,
Yeah.
networking platform in Nigeria. Impressive, right? I mean, look at Mark Zuckerberg, what it means to the world, is well respected and stuff like that, and he has built this massive company, right? I mean, we should be celebrating Sheo, right? We should be
Yeah.
promoting his platform, right? But instead, what our government, what they are planning to do is to actually try to deter him or deter the growth of the platform. You understand? Which is crazy, I mean, it does. You tend to see the difference in our societies, right? Whereas one society is trying to like promote or support growth, right? Our societies we're planning to kill development, kill the growth of these platforms,
Yeah.
which is crazy. Crazy, like you rightly said. I mean, this administration, right? This current administration, before they came into power, right? One of the platforms that they actively made use of was social media, right?
Absolutely.
I can recall
Absolutely.
them everywhere. They engage the services of the so-called social media influencers that they are having problems with right now, right? They engage the services, meaning that they acknowledge, in a way, if you're paying them for the services, you acknowledge that there is a service to be provided, right? You
Yeah.
acknowledge that they're doing something right? You acknowledge it by actually paying for the services. You made
Yeah.
use of these influencers, the so-called influencers, you made use of them to actually pass across your information to people, because you knew and you realized that the large percent of the Nigerian young population meets and connects on social media, right? And you've
Yeah.
seen people that they interact with on a daily basis. You try to take advantage of that because you saw the possibilities, you saw the huge potential that in that space, you understand? And you leverage on it. You got
Yeah.
into power, right? Because you're getting a lot of criticisms, right? From the population, the electorate, people that actually elected you into power, right? Because of that, you thought, okay, we don't have any other option than to regulate this industry, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy. For me,
It
the
is.
case
It
of
is
this
that. It is. But I guess.
power.
Let's move away from the hypocrisy being shown by the government, right? Let's even examine. Let's talk about the social media bill, right? I mean, what let's talk about some of the provisions of the bill, right? Let's see whether we can even see anything good from it, right? But you see,
Yeah.
in terms of the relevant provisions of this bill, Dio, I can tell you categorically, it's like these folks don't want us to say anything against the government. And it's ridiculous because they keep saying we are in a democracy, right? How is it then a problem for me to criticize my leaders that we elected into these offices, right? So we have funny provisions like, oh, right, they are trying to prohibit false statements, right? The bill is supposed to prohibit false statements, and it criminalizes the transmission of false statements, which is likely to be prejudicial to the security of Nigeria or any part of Nigeria. And I'll take you up on this point, Dio, right? This is back in 2011 when the current president of the country lost election to the then President Jonathan. He made many violent statements, and they caused riots in Kano when one APC leader even died because he died during the protest because he didn't have his inhaler or something, right? And there was riots, right? It was okay for them to do this then, right? It even then says, yeah, it prohibits the transmission of false statements that is prejudicial to public health, public safety, or incites feelings of enmity, hatred to a person, or ill will between different groups of persons. And this is very hypocritical, right? Unless you're saying to me that everybody I interact with, I must like. If I don't like you, I don't like you. If you're my enemy, you're my enemy. There's nothing criminal about that. If I meet someone today and I feel like, oh yeah, nobody has an obligation to love the other person unless you're a Christian or a Muslim, so to speak, right? But in a very secular state, this is not a religious country. This is a secular country, right? Which means I can decide to feel a certain way about my fellow human. The most important thing is I should not in any way act on that emotion, right? But you see that you want to prevent such feeling is ridiculous, Dio.
It is. If I may chip in, Dami, right? Hearing from what you just said, the position that you just laid out, right? It gives me, I tend to have this, I'm having this impression that when it now comes to interpretation, right, they will now come to say, what really constitutes a danger to public safety?
Exactly.
It's not
how do you measure it?
It's not subjected to their own interpretation. You understand what I'm saying, right? Anything you say that doesn't suit them, right, they'll just tag it under the cap of, oh, it's dangerous or injurious to the public safety and stuff. You cannot come up with blank provisions like that, right? You have to. I don't even subscribe to the regulation, obviously, but when you now make provisions like that, when you now have provisions like that, that's where you see that there's an issue, there's a problem, right? And I believe the Nigerian population should not allow it stand, should not accept the proposed bill and stuff. But let's go ahead. Let's go ahead. Let's have more of what we have in the proposed bill.
Cool. So you can't even provide. The bill also seeks to prohibit the provision of services for the transmission of false statements or facts in Nigeria. And what does that mean? So does that mean as an internet service provider, right? If someone goes on my platform to spread fake news, you're going to come after me or what? I don't understand. Since when did MTN or Glow or Airtel or Swift, since when did those guys become gatekeepers of what people say on the internet? Yes, I know they have obligations by the relevant NCC rules to aid the law enforcement in their investigations and the likes, right? But they cannot be held responsible for what people say, right? On the internet. They can't. It doesn't make any sense. They can't be held liable. If you want them to participate in the investigation, that makes sense, right? But criminalizing the provision of the services, or perhaps they are targeting platforms like Facebook, Twitter. I guess no. So I think those are the guys they are targeting, right? It then begs the question how they are going to enforce such judgments, right? How are you going to enforce such judgment? How are you going to take up an action against Facebook or Twitter, for instance, that doesn't even maintain an office in Nigeria, for instance? It just goes to show that there is shallow thinking in developing or coming up with this bill. It goes to show that they were all out to get the Nigerian populace from, they were all out to prevent them from saying any negative thing about the government, which
Yeah.
obviously they don't really care about the people, right? But let's see, Dio, do you think there are any good arguments in favor of this bill? I mean, from your experience in the use of social media, do you think there's any merit of any sort? Because it feels as if I'm attacking the bill, right? What do you think? Do you think that there's
I
any
mean,
merit?
I've thought about this critically, right?
Yeah,
And yeah, I've thought about this critically, Damien, right? And I struggle to come up with, I mean, advantages to this bill, right?
I
And
can
like I said
imagine.
earlier on, I said
That was why I
the
asked you. I
case
didn't
of
want to be biased.
yeah, so I don't want to bias, right? But
Yeah.
again, what we are trying to bias, right? I mean, I'll mention one or two things that one or two arguments I've seen people make, right? The first one
Mm-hmm.
is they say that there's actually a need to curb the spread of false information, right?
Yeah.
And again, if you're active on social media, like let me use Twitter as an example, right? There was a time during the SARS movement where you see videos that are videos of events that happened maybe years ago, or
Yeah.
perhaps that didn't even happen in the country, where people, I mean, a lot of people to get engagements and following and stuff like that, right? They share some of these videos, right, and mislead the public into thinking that some of these things were happening around them, right? At some
Mm-hmm.
point, right, when there was chaos during that same period, right, you probably didn't feel safe in your own environment, in your own house, because from what you've seen online, it made it seem as if there was chaos everywhere, right? And it seemed as if they were right there outside your compound, right? Considering you're seeing online, right? And again, I think it's also to an extent, right? I believe that there were people that were spreading false information, right?
Yeah.
Perhaps it was the tactics of the government, right, to try and create some sort of division and stuff, right? But again, I can't deny the fact that there were people trying to spread false information, right? So again, maybe
Mm-hmm.
perhaps they're also trying to prevent that. And like I always say, Dami, right? If you're trying to curb the spread of false information, I don't think coming up with a bid is the solution, right?
Mm-hmm.
Invest in the budding tech ecosystem in Nigeria, right?
Yeah.
Invest in guys that have software skills, people that can what's it called, that have software that can write artificial intelligence code, people that are
Yeah.
involved in machine learning languages, you understand, right? So
Yeah.
that these guys can sit down and come up with solutions how they can use codes to try and what's called identify people that spread false information
False
and try to
information.
like
Yeah.
prevent the spread of false information using codes. You can combat it using technology. You understand what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
Instead of trying to now regulate it, right?
Yeah.
To me, regulation is something to me like an infringement on the fundamental rights of expression to an extent. You understand? It's another
Yeah.
issue altogether, right? That's one. The other advantage or another argument I've seen people make for this stuff is that in the African, considering the African mindset or approach to things, right? I mean, the African perspective, right? We
Yeah.
are largely religious. We take our culture. I mean, these things are very important to us, and we believe that certain people should not be exposed to certain things, right? So, what you see online, for instance, you go on social media, you see underage people. Um, I mean, some of these platforms don't have a way to verify the age of people, right? So,
Yeah.
you see some of these platforms, you see people that are underage come on this platform, and when you come on this platform, they see people. We've also seen a couple of pop stars, right? That
Yeah.
display some of these ill-got wealth online, right? So some
Yeah.
of these young people that don't have the capacity to think for themselves, they see these things and think that's the way to go about it, right? And they try to copy those guys. They think being fraudulent is the way to acquire wealth. You understand what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
again, they're probably looking at that and trying to find a way to regulate things like that. But again, like I said, there are ways to go about it, and it comes down to investing in the tech ecosystem, right? I believe we have talents that can help fight this, right? But not necessarily without necessarily having to regulate social media. Then honestly, that is about it. I don't think anybody can come up with more advantages. But again, when you think about it, the disadvantages outweigh the advantages.
Of course, of course, and there are numerous. I hear you on the advantages, right? It makes a lot of sense. I mean, obviously because of the easy aggregation that you have on the internet, information spreads really fast. You can compare it to the traditional means of distributing information, right? So it could easily do more damage. And I hear you when you say you can't combat technological problems with paper solutions. It doesn't work that way. How do you even want to enforce it? It doesn't make sense. It goes to show that they are not even thinking properly. And speaking about disadvantages, right? These things also have economic implications in terms of financial losses,
Absolutely.
right? And there seems to be a trend in Africa, and I begin to wonder whether there's actually a problem. There's something wrong with Africans, right? There's a list of countries that have restricted access to the internet in the past few years. And there are so many African countries on that list, including Zimbabwe, Ethiopia, Egypt, Republic of Benin, Cameroon, Democratic Republic of Congo, Malawi, Morocco, Rwanda. In fact, Dio, Sudan was reported to have lost about 1,560 hours to internet shutdown recently, and is the African country to lose the most in terms of financial loss, with about $1.8 million lost to the shutdown of the internet. And Algeria also comes sixth globally in the world, because all of these things have financial implications, and our leaders need to begin to see it. So imagine a situation where the Nigerian government restricts the access to the internet. I can't imagine the amount or the volume of the financial loss. Just only today, Google was down for about a few minutes, and I couldn't even access my drive. I was going crazy, and I needed to do something at that particular time. Imagine a situation where many Nigerians can't easily access the internet, but guess what? It's just in their imagination. Even with such restriction, we'll still find a way. It's difficult. Last, people will resort to using VPNs and stuff, and
I was about to mention
they'll
that.
bypass it.
I was about to mention
it
goes to show that
to make it difficult.
Right? It goes to show that the lack of. Hello, Dami, can you hear me?
Yes, clearly.
Yeah, so it goes to show the lack of understanding of how technology works, right? I mean,
I'm not surprised, really.
Not have the people that have the expertise, right? They don't have them in their team to advise them, right? Because again, you want to do that during the EndSARS movement. A lot of people downloaded VPNs, right? Say, if you actually shut down the internet in the country, we'll make some VPN. Right?
Of course,
they are dealing with smart young population, right? A set of smart people, right? And they need to accept that fact and actually think in line with that fact, right? To try and, I mean, since you understand that they are smart young set of young people, you understand what I'm saying? Like, people with VPNs, I mean, it's the crazy part.
Of course. But I think we need to speak about the real issues, right, Dayo? We've attacked these guys and we've said their priorities are misguided and unfounded, right? But I think really the practical thing is they are not focusing on the real issues in the society, right? Absolutely. Nigeria has bigger problems right now, and I don't think social media doesn't make top 10 of our list, right? So let's talk about the issues. What do you think the real issues are in the country at the moment? What do you think the government should be prioritizing?
Yeah. Considering what's happening right now in the country, right? I mean, honestly, the number one issue in the country is insecurity.
I'm telling you,
I don't.
Insecurity.
I don't think Nigerians feel safe in their country anymore. You understand? Right?
I agree.
Yeah, there's a lot of going on about the abduction in the north, right, and the terrorism attacks that have been happening there recently, right? But do you know that even in your local environment, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of crime committed daily. Right?
Of course. I mean, I was telling someone yesterday, Dayo, I no longer go out at night. I no longer go out at night because I don't just want to go out. I don't want to expose myself in that manner. Whenever I go to now, I come back to my house at 7 p.m. Thankfully, I don't have to go to work, right? But it means by 7 p.m., I have to be in my house because it's madness out there. People are hungry and angry, and you don't want to be a victim. That's how bad it is.
You don't want to be a statistic, man. You don't be a statistic. A friend of mine went travel to Rwanda, recently, right?
Yeah.
He got back and he told me that, in Rwanda, he could even walk up to the policemen to just talk to them, They were sane. As in, they're same people that you could interact with and they were there to protect you, you understand?
Yeah.
That he said, when it comes to this country, it doesn't feel safe.
Of course.
It doesn't feel safe. I don't feel safe walking around.
You see a policeman, you don't even feel safe. You feel threatened because you know the guy can just act funny all of a sudden and then act weird and you're gone. Nobody is going to get any justice for you, So insecurity is one of the main issues, like you rightly said,
How can you thrive as a nation, right? I mean, that affects a whole lot, right? Because it affects the economy too. Right? How can you have a good economy if people cannot even go out to go and try to build something or try to make ends meet, right?
Of
People,
course.
people
Yeah.
cannot do people that are trying to farm, for instance, right? They are getting killed on their farms, right? So
Yeah.
how do you get agriculture to grow in the nation if you can't protect the farmers? You know what I'm saying,
Of
right?
course.
So we
Yeah.
need to get the basic things right before we start talking about technology and social media, which is like should be the least of your worries, right? We
I
need to
agree.
start getting things right. Insecurity is a big issue that the government should be paying a lot of attention to. Right. For instance, I saw a statement from one of the former, one of the those top shots, right? I think Shetima also was saying something about the fact that if by now some people have not been sacked, despite the rise in insecurity issues that we've been seeing, right? That
Yeah.
it shows that something's not right in that. You
Yeah.
understand? And I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. That we've
Of
not
course.
had cases of they've not reported that they've sacked head of these of security agencies. You understand?
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy. That's number one issue. Do you want to? I mean, I'm sure you have other issues
Of
besides
course.
that.
I mean, there's also the issue of corruption, which obviously everyone talks about in Nigeria, right? Just recently, I saw the Ministry of Petroleum, which is obviously headed by president, so to speak. I mean, purported president, or whatever it is you want to call him. They spent 54 million naira buying letterheads, right? That's about $120,000, right? Printing letterheads, dial. They spent 14 million naira purchasing Schneider pen that they used to write 14 million naira. Do you know what I mean? It's ridiculous, and nobody is asking questions. Up until recently, NNPC had never been audited, right? Even the CBN. But question is, even if you audit those institutions, who's going to question the audit report or whatever it is that comes out of it? Nobody, right? No questions being asked, right? The economy obviously is also completely rigged against some parts of the country. Some people are consistently marginalized, and that's a reality. Nobody's talking about that enough. Unemployment is still an issue. Education is still a joke. Health is still a joke. This is 2020. Over 60 years old. Nigeria is over 60 years old, and we still complain about power. It doesn't make sense. I begin to wonder whether it's rocket science or what is it? Well, it goes to show up to the country.
I mean, we've seen neighboring countries around us, right, with steady power supply. They've been able to do that, right?
Course,
It means it's not rocket science. It's not rocket science. It means it's just irresponsibility on the part of our government, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what we're talking about. While we're talking about what's called corruption, like I wanted to mention something. Okay, yeah, you mentioned education, for instance. I also mentioned that you do realize that I think till now, ASU is still on strike.
Oh yeah,
that's about 9 months.
Of course,
that's about 9
months. That means they don't even care about those students, Dio. It doesn't matter.
They don't.
It doesn't matter if they like. They should start up for 1 year. Those guys don't care one bit.
It's bad enough that the quality of education is poor, right?
Yeah,
and
you still make it. And this is 2020. No one should be studying in the university for 6 years anymore for things you can easily learn online. You know. So again, and I think we need to bring it home, Dio. We need to bring it home. This is Techland, and we need to relate it to what we're talking about. What is important to us. We don't need gatekeeper to the internet or the social media in Nigeria. What we need is adequate investment, because see, when we have a gatekeeper, a lot of things will happen, right? It will affect the investment friendliness of the country, right? Unemployment will then increase because obviously nobody is pumping money into the tech sector anymore, right? And obviously when the guys with the skills are not getting jobs locally, they will leave the country, which is already happening already. Ask many young developers, most guys want to get out of Nigeria and get gigs outside Nigeria, right? Which then means our tech sector will be hindered.
It's funny. They try to say they try to say, it's funny that they try to say it as one of the good things about Nigeria now, that they say our tech talent is one of the largest exports, right?
Yeah.
But again, there's also an issue there, right?
It's a joke now.
Which is, I mean, the talents are leaving the country, right?
Of course.
Because of the hardship in the country, because of the environment, because the environment is no longer friendly. Right? Yeah. There's no investment. They're not getting the support that they should be getting from the government. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean,
again.
So yeah, and I agree with you. So again, let's look on the bright side, Dio. Before we conclude, what do you think can be done, right? What do you think the government should be focusing on at the moment, I mean, it appears because it
What
appears
they should
there's
be
really no
focusing
hope
on.
for the country, right? What do you think they should be thinking about? But I mean, not like anything matters, anyways. But we'll keep talking about it, right? But in your
Yeah, we
estimation,
need
what
to
do you
talk
think?
about. So I mean, for me, like for me, I mean, we've identified the issues, obviously, right?
Yeah,
I mean, we can name top 100 that they could address other than social media appeal, right?
yeah,
And I think for me, like you said, right, they should first of all, invest in the tech ecosystem, right? I mean, pump money into it. I mean, create industries around, because we've seen that tech is the present and is the future, right?
yeah.
And we should invest heavily in it, right? Because again, like I said, if we have the talent, right, people can make use of artificial intelligence, machine learning to fight some of the battles that they want to fight, right? I mean,
Of course.
we can, if you have competence in those areas, right, we can address these issues using technology, right?
Yeah,
You understand? So we should invest in that space, right? That's one thing we should do. Also, when they're coming up with policies, right, they should ensure that they get experts, people that have expertise in these areas, in technology, in that field, right, to advise them. You understand what I'm saying, right? Because what I notice sometimes when I see some panels, when I come across some panels, I see that none of those people on that panel, right, actually has any experience or any competence in that
of
area.
course.
Understand? So they need to
No
increase. They
surprises
need to
there.
increase that area. It's as simple as that. You understand? You can't be talking about what you don't know, understand.
Of course.
And you can't even be regulating what you don't understand.
Of course. I agree with you
You understand?
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
those are the issues. I personally feel what you can do is to actually try and get what's it called experts to actually advise them. Honestly, they need expert opinion on some of this.
I,
At
I,
least if they
I,
could get that right, they can now come up with reasonable policies, right, that takes us forward as a nation. I mean, those are just some of the things I feel they can do. I'm
and
sure
I
you
think
have
it's
also add to that.
yeah, and I think it's a wake up call to the Nigerian youth, right? Hope, but again, it's even difficult to participate in the electoral process. As I said, next time when you go to the polls to elect in your public officers, right, ensure that you're voting in folks that would advance your interest as a Nigerian youth. But you see, we've even seen instances where the young people elected into offices get there and start misbehaving. And a case in point is the Desmond Elliott guy who got into power, and obviously the narrative changed. But it's a shame though. But again, we
It's a
need
shame.
to
It's a shame. Yeah.
consistently try. We need to consistently try. We need to be very informed. We need to be very aware, and we need to continue to upskill ourselves as Nigerian youth.
Absolutely. One more thing, right? We need to sort of okay, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the
Like,
essence of what we're doing. You know,
yeah,
we need
exactly,
to speak
exactly.
loudly about it. And,
We need to talk.
and I think that in conclusion, right, it's really a tale of two cities, right? It's a battle between the good and the bad, the just and the unjust, censorship and freedom. And it is very
Yeah,
important to us at the tech launch that the tech sector is given enough opportunity to thrive and not be subjected to the games, the whims, and caprices of the politicians because of their selfish interests, right? The
yeah.
social media has significantly benefited the Nigerian economy. And we personally, we do hope that this bill would not see the light of the day. The
I actually do.
Nigerian government should focus on the pure economic and governance issues bedeviling our country at the moment. And they should leave the social media. That's not their problem right now. Dayo,
At all.
any concluding thoughts as well?
I honestly think we've said it all, right? Like you said, right? It's a case of misplaced priority, right? It should be list of their worries, right? I mean, if they didn't have a clear idea of the things they should tackle, right? We've actually identified some of those issues. They should listen to us on Techland and actually try and
Yeah,
address those. Or
yeah,
if some
right.
of our listeners have access to them, they should go and
Share
talk to
it
them
with
about.
them. Yeah, let
You
them
understand?
listen.
Let them listen to us. We've identified some of those issues since they have refused to actually identify these things themselves. You understand? I mean, we
Yeah,
teach them their job. They
of
are refusing to
course,
do their job.
of course.
You know,
I'm glad we finally got around to do this. I guess that you can wish our listeners Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year in advance. I mean, go on. Let's round up.
yeah, it's been a long year. I mean, you'd agree
Yeah,
with
it
me. It's been
has.
a long year. What I wish for everybody is to have a pleasant what's it called, New Year celebration, and
Yeah.
we hope that 2021 will be a better year, right?
Yeah.
And I wish you all a Merry Christmas. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you for tuning in today, and we hope
Thank you for
you're
staying with
blessed.
us, and we hope to be back next year. This is the last episode for the year. Yippee! We're excited about the following year, and we look forward to having you.